Nityanandam. My name is Manikya Chikambarananda. I have been a Krama Brahmacharini, which means I have been part of the monastic order of His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Shri Nityananda Paramashivam since 2016. And I wanted to make a sharing with you all today based on some of my observations and some of my experiences as a Westerner who has embraced a whole new tradition, a whole new culture as a part of my very existence now. Now, I have my phone with me here. I tend to get sidetracked a little bit with my thought currents. So rather than digress and make this a sharing something I don't want it to be, I've got these dot points so that I can be a bit more concise in what I want to speak about today. I can really appreciate how difficult it is for Western minds to come in and imbibe the culture of living with a guru. Now, why I say this is partly some of my experiences and a lot of my observations of seeing how Western minds are not quite able to grasp the some of the thought currents of the Vedic tradition, and this is only because of the systematic brainwashing we go through as Westerners in a very unconscious Abrahamic patriarchal society. Now, I myself was raised in Australia. I I feel I'm somewhat lucky that I am was part of a country which is still considered quite a young country in comparison to the United States of America and Canada and obviously European countries. Now, even so, I can see how being raised in this society has really damaged my consciousness from a spiritual perspective. Now, I say this now looking back as someone who has gone through training, who has imbibed a lot of Vedic thought currents, and who has very much made the Vedic tradition a part of my lifestyle now. Now, I was someone who was raised in front of a television screen, and I I can see how we are conditioned from a very young age to conform and fit into a society which is based on fear and consumption. Now, I remember watching hours and hours and hours worth of TV shows in front of the TV. It was my most fun, favorite thing to do. It was a prime form of entertainment, and I, remember watching maybe half an hour of uh, a, a TV show that would be stretched across a 1 hour time slot on the TV, and you would watch perhaps, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes of this TV show, and then you would be watching 5 minutes worth of TV commercials, and again 5 minutes of a TV show that you're really interested in, and then 5 minutes worth of just commercials telling you what you need in order to be happy and fulfilled in this society. So whether it's toys, whether it's the new car, whether it's the bigger house, whether it's the holiday, whatever it is that was presented to us was always presented in such a way that we will be fulfilled after we have these things, which is the biggest scam, and we're literally brainwashed into believing this. I remember watching the news with my parents, and the news is the biggest propaganda. It is always based off of negativity, which feeds into your consciousness, which feeds into your subconscious mind, making you aware of your human fragility, making you aware that there's diseases around the corner, there's wars happening all across the world, your neighborhood is not safe, this person has been raped, this person has been charged with murder, all different kinds of horror stories which our consciousness is literally filled with. Now, we're also patriarchal society, male dominant, especially as females. We are, not just conditioned, but for many of us, our experience is that men are going to dominate us, they're going to possess us, they're going to violate us, they're going to harm us. We have seen this throughout history repeating itself again and again and again, and this is our understanding of what any man in any position of power is going to do, is that they're going to harm us. So when a Western mind comes into a different structure, we already are carrying this within ourselves as the undercurrent of what we believe. I know for myself that this was something very difficult, not something you will ever really be deprogrammed out of, because the basis of the human ego, the basis of the human mind, its existence is focusing on the past, your fears, or looking towards the future, some kind of a greed, something which will fulfill you. And the society we live in outside of the Vedic tradition, outside of Hinduism, is ego-based. It thrives on the existence of the mind. Now, when we come into a monastery, when we have taken a decision for our lives to imbibe spirituality, we are not coming into it's not going to be a party environment. It's not going to be easy. Many times it's going to be challenging to have to face what you're carrying inside of you, what you're continuously vomiting out to others. You have to look in and see what is your ego, what is it that you're carrying inside of you. Now, the role of the master, the role of the guru, is to guide us, is to instruct us, is to dissect the ego first and foremost. And that's never an easy job. I have seen for myself, as someone who has lived with Swamiji since 2016, how lovingly he does this. Now, I can't stress the word lovingly enough in this. I have never ever experienced Swamiji ever be no more than even harsh. The word harsh is not the right word to use. Swamiji will be blunt when he has to be blunt. If the ego is in operation, he will do what needs to be done to make that evident to the person whose ego is active at the time. Now, the guru also in Vedic tradition was someone who used to instruct kings. That's the role of the guru in the Vedic tradition, in the Vedic society. Now, he instructs the king to ensure that the kingdom which the king is ruling is functioning at its best. Now, again, from a Western perspective, it can be really easy to misinterpret a male in power as someone who is going to violate our rights, who is going to overstep their boundaries. But if we see from a different perspective, when we take that fear out of the equation, we can only ever see the good that he's doing for each and every being who he comes into contact with. Now, the Hindu persecuted now, and has been for hundreds and hundreds of years now, is one of the only traditions which actually respects and accepts women as equal to men. They respect the feminine consciousness as having equal importance to the male consciousness. It is the only religion, it is the only tradition in the world which has mother worship as a part of its very core. And I think that's important for each and every one of us to remember, is that our gurus, Hinduism in particular, the Vedic thought currents of Hinduism, need to be preserved, especially in this society, in this world where we are just waiting to get hurt, where we are just being led astray continuously by the wrong kinds of people. We need to start waking up and recognizing the ones who are truly empowering us. And that is what Swamiji does. As a woman, as someone who has been with him for the greater part of 5 years now, he has only ever empowered me. He is someone who has only ever made me love myself more and more and more. And I can see that he has the same relationship with each and every one of us that consider him our guru. Kids in particular are his very heart. I have seen how Swamiji is so beautiful with his kids. And again, see, this is how I start digressing. I don't want this sharing, I don't want this video to be something which is defensive and having to defend Swamiji, because I know what Swamiji is. And when people attack us, the moment we start defending ourselves, we're already off on the wrong kind of a footing. Now, one final thought current I wanted to express with you all and share is, as a Westerner, I have also come from a Western education system, and if I have to look at the word cult and I have to look at indoctrination, there is no bigger indoctrination than the Western education system. The Western education system, we are made to regurgitate thought currents. We are not allowed to think independently. We are so impressionable. We are spoon-fed what we are taught to believe and carry those beliefs within ourselves for the rest of our lives. We're not allowed to express our individuality. We have to conform to what they are telling us to be. The one beautiful thing I love about Hinduism, the one beautiful thing I love about living in an adinam, in a monastery complex, is that progressive thought, independent thought is completely encouraged. Now, kids in the Gurukul, and not just kids in the Gurukul, but I myself have experienced as a brahmacharini, Vakyartha Sadas. Vakyartha Sadas is basically an open forum of discussion where we not just discuss and share thought currents based off of spiritual teachings, but we are allowed to dissect them and pick them apart and come to our own conclusions and understandings, which lead us to an experience spiritually what is being shared in that teaching. So whether it's the Upanishads, whether it's any of the Vedas or the Agamas, whether it's Swamiji's satsangs himself, where he's instilling powerful cognitions into us, Bhakti-Artha Sadas is a way for us to discuss these and not regurgitate what was given in that teaching, but rather come to our own understanding and our own experience of what that means. Now, this is why I know Gurukul and why I know living around a guru, living in a monastery complex, living in an adinam is so important for us to evolve from the lower levels of consciousness which we are brainwashed into by a Western society. This is the kind of thinking that we need. This is the kind of progressive thoughts that we need to be nurturing within ourselves so that we can be empowered and each and every one of us can stand up as our own leader for our own lives and for the lives of others, not to be slaves to a system, a Western system which is based off corruption, violence, greed, torture, keeping us a slave to just trying to find fulfillment in things outside of us which do not exist. Our happiness, our fulfillment lies within ourselves. This is why we come to an adinam. This is why we come to a guru, is to allow him to uncover the mud and mess which has been thrown onto us and to give us the experience of what we all have within ourselves already. It is easy when our demons are presented in front of us to run away. It is even easier to twist what a guru is and his teachings, especially when he starts working on the ego. It's not going to be pleasant to be faced with your demons, and it's not going to be nice to have your ego dissected in front of you. It's going to be painful. It's going to be rough. You're going to feel hurt, but twisting it and perverting it and making it something it's not is very unfortunate, and it's actually very unfair to people who are looking for these solutions which our gurus are giving us. They're providing us with this ambience, and I think many Westerners need to start looking into how you've been indoctrinated in society and how the systems around us are very corrupt and not serving us anymore. And just to have a bit more open-mindedness about other traditions and other cultures which exist, which are trying to give us a future and give us a life which we are all actually looking for without being exploited. So I hope this has been an informative video. I hope this sharing opens up your minds and your hearts a little bit. And of course, if you have any questions, if you want to share any of your views or perspectives, you are more than welcome to do so. So until then, thank you all. Nityanandam.